But yeah, I think we should talk about this now because we have quite different opinions about this. I know I have a hot take, but you know, when we first, I think it was 2019. 2019 was an incredible year for films.
My God, that one of the best on record.
It was an insane year.
Yeah.
And I think The Lighthouse probably was my favorite film of that year, but there were so many great films. But obviously, when we watched, I mean, I'm not a massive DC fan. I'm not a massive Batman fan at all. But I saw something in the Joker trailer that kind of intrigued me, and I was really excited about it. I like the idea of taking like this DC over-the-top kind of villain character. I was always intrigued by the Joker character for some reason as well. And see it kind of be turned into this gritty, real-life drama kind of film where it takes it seriously and adapts it in like a real-life situation. Because it's quite a like, when you consider it compared to other DC films. And when we watched it, man, Joker, the experience that I had watching Joker, fucking hell, that was incredible. Yeah. I loved Joker.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially if you look back at that year, like if they were to ask, what was the defining film of that decade or of 2019? Mate, Joker. Like
the first R-rated film to make $1 billion.
Yeah, no, but just that time, the feeling like I got whilst watching it and, and during that year's Oscar season, like, holy shit, like no matter what you think about Joker, you can't deny how significant it was. Like,
I know a lot of people... One thing I would say about Joker is that it's I wouldn't say it's very rewatchable. I've come back to it a few times, but it's kind of like it's a one-time experience kind of film, and it's kind of like one it's not very varied in its themes and stuff like that. But and I know how derivative it is. I know how unoriginal it is when it comes to just. What were those two films? The Taxi
Driver, King of Comedy.
Which I watched King of Comedy recently. Which
did you like it?
Yeah, it was great, and I definitely I saw the similarities.
Yeah.
One thing I always think when people compare films to others and they say, "Oh, it's derivative of another film," I don't necessarily think that makes it bad. Just because some film is taking inspiration from another film, or you could say, "Oh, it's just like a carbon copy." Like You know, I understand that criticism, but I still think that Joker in itself is a great film, and just the fact that it was directed by Todd Phillips.
Crazy. How does
Hangover,
Bro go from The Hangover?
Like these crazy stupid comedies, and then he goes from actually making like this really kind of like intense, deep themed, like thriller, people will argue and say, oh, it's not that deep, it's quite surface level. Oh, society is bad. If society treats you badly, then you're gonna rebel and stuff like that. But again, like even that scene, the talk show scene, the talk show scene was incredible. But obviously when we found out that Joker 2 was coming out, we were like,
I was intrigued.
I was pretty happy.
I was interested. I was
excited.
like, oh shit, okay.
I was like, where the hell was this going to go?
Yeah.
And then you find out that it's going to be a musical, and then I was just like, okay, that's weird.
It's different.
That's unusual.
Yeah, it's different.
And then it's like, it's got Lady Gaga in it, and I was like, okay, all right. I mean, she was okay in what was that film?
Star is Born.
She was okay in A Star is Born, but it's kind of an unusual take. But the fact that it's a musical is just kind of really intriguing me and also kind of turning me off to it. And then I think it's like one of the worst received films for like it's been for a long time.
Which, as someone who did not enjoy Folie I never thought it would get that far where like, it was the biggest bomb of last year and it lost that amount of money. I never thought it would do that badly. That was a shock to me.
So when you watched it, what did you think?
Again, I liked what he was going for.
Yeah.
But then as I sat on it and also like saw some of the reviews as well, it did just feel like a slap in the face.
Yeah.
Like to everyone, for even caring about what's his name? Arthur? Yeah, that's
Arthur Fleck,
character. And it did just feel like, how dare you, view him in this way.
how dare you?
How could you?
Yeah.
And
no, I understand.
It didn't really work for me. Again, bold. I love when something's bold.
Yeah.
And I feel, and you as well. You can appreciate when something takes a risk rather than a film that doesn't even try, like doesn't give a shit about like challenging you. But what it was trying to do, it didn't work for me, and it kind of felt like like Todd Phillips going, you like this character? Fuck you! How dare you? How dare you? How dare you sympathise with him? How dare you?
And you hardly even see him become the Joker.
Exactly.
Like he's not even the Joker for like most of the time. He's Arthur Fleck.
And the whole film really is just like kind of it's a extended recap.
Yeah.
They spend most of the time talking about what happened in the first.
Right, now I'm hearing you talk about it, I'm a little bit like, yeah, I agree. But like, I will say that my reaction wasn't like most people's. Like, I expected it to be a lot worse. I actually think it's extremely overhated. Not to say that I don't completely understand where people are coming from, because it's really fucking weird. It's a really weird film. Like, just the whole concept of it and the direction that he went. Why was it a musical? How are those fans going to overlap? You know, DC fans and musical fans. You know, people aren't going to be getting with that idea like right off the get-go. And it's just like, why did you decide to do that? And I couldn't really, when I was watching the film, it just didn't justify itself, the fact that it was a musical.
No,
it would have made
really
so
didn't.
much more sense if it wasn't a musical. There was so many directions it could have gone that would have been so much better. But you know what? I still really respect the fact that Todd Phillips decided to make it the way he did, because I still think, I mean, look, you've got to admit that the cinematography is still incredible.
Oh, no, it's stunning.
Like, I don't know, overall, I remember after finishing the film, I was like, you know what, I actually enjoyed that. There's actually a lot of moments in that film where I was just like, yeah, but then there's also bits where it's like, you know, what's the guy who plays, you know, the British guy? What
was Steve Coogan doing there?
Steve Coogan was very random.
I mean, use Steve Coogan all you can. We love Steve Coogan, but like, why was he there?
He was totally underutilized as well, wasn't it?
Then his accent as well.
Yeah.
So Arthur, what's changed?
And then
Oh,
Arthur's just sitting there and he just breaks into song, and his singing's quite bad. And then apparently that was all intentional.
Yeah, that does. I feel like that for a lot of like, I mean, for audience members and for directors, that's sometimes a cop-out excuse.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it was meant to be bad.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's how you portray it.
Well, it's going to be bad then. If you meant it to be bad,
so
then
what?
it's going to
Okay.
be bad. Like,
doesn't mean it's pleasant for me to listen to an out of tune like Joaquin Phoenix just because you know, he can't sing.
Yeah. But still, I'm always looking for, like, I always pay attention to things that are different, and I just feel like I just felt like it was different in a way that intrigued me, and it never bored me. The film never bored me. I know a lot of people were very bored by it. Like, and I understand that. Like, it's just like there's not really a plot to it at all. There's not much going on. And when he does break into the Joker character, it's kind of surreal anyway. So it's like, what? It's not really happening. Like when he's breaking out and he's like bashing the hammer against the judge, and it's just like, well, this is all in his mind. So it's kind of like it doesn't really mean anything. Nothing really adds to it. And then he just dies at the end. It's kind of weird, but again, I don't know, man. I still have a thing for it. I still think overall, and something that the film does really weirdly as well, the aspect ratio changes. Like sometimes it's like got the black bars, other times it's like full screen, and it's. I think that threw people off. It just kind of it is a totally like messy film that doesn't make any sense. But you know, now that I'm talking about it, it sounds like I hate it, but genuinely I still like it. I couldn't even tell you exactly why. I just think it's
a feeling.
It captures something there that I felt was respectable. Apparently, Joaquin Phoenix, they both didn't really want to do a sequel, or maybe Joaquin Phoenix didn't. And then Joaquin Phoenix had like a dream or something, and it came to mind that it was going to be a musical, and then they were like, you know what, let's roll with this. Let's decide to go with it. Which I think it's just, I just think it's so bold. Like he very easily could have done something that was gonna work for people,
and like
for the wider audience.
And the thing is, Warner Brothers were going to demand a sequel regardless. It made like over $1 billion.
Yeah,
so they were probably begging Todd Phillips to do it anyway.
And I just love the idea that he decided to do something different, something that he wanted to. I mean, the cartoon sequence at the beginning is brilliant. I think it's deeper than the first film. I think it touches on things that are unique, and it does stuff that you don't want to happen. I mean, you don't want him to die at the end, but he does.
That's the problem I have. When hearing you talk about it, yes, it actually maybe has more layers to it than the first film, which is actually more. And that's the thing. The first film has very surface level themes, but it's more successful in its execution. Yeah, and overall, that makes it a better film. But then the second one, it's like, the ideas are actually really bold and interesting. There's loads of, it's very meta as well, because they're saying that like the fact that Arthur's on trial, it's like, it's Todd Phillips on trial for making the first film, and then at the end when like all these Joker like kind of fans are chasing him, it's like Todd Phillips running away from the notion, which is actually, I mean, that's one of the things I didn't like, because it was a bit of a fuck you. But I think it with Folie à Deux, it is just a case where yes, there's more to it, but it just wasn't executed.
There wasn't enough stuff going on. And I really do feel like it fucked it up massively by being a musical.
Also, don't you think it felt really stretched out as well?
Yeah, I thought it was stretched out, but like I say, I was never bored. And the sequence at the end where the whole courtroom explodes and he's getting, he goes into a taxi and stuff like that. I just thought like. Again, I just thought it was a genuinely original idea, but it was just poorly. I agree. There was definitely things about it, and again, I totally understand why people don't like it. Yeah. But I just think it gets way too much hate. I think people were walking out. Halfway through and stuff, and just hating on it, and people reading reviews before they'd even seen it and talking shit about it. But that's what I don't like about social media.
But that's just the fan culture that we live in.
Yeah, it's like
made it a hell of a lot harder sometimes to contain your expectations.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if you're looking to see something, I mean, I will go and see. If I want to see something, I'll fucking see it.
Yeah.
But then, of course, we will end up reading the reviews once in a while.
Yeah.
And even if you go and see it, you'll have that in the back of your mind. And unfortunately, that's a symptom of like the age that we live in.